She's very cool and no stranger to the stage. Let's give a big round of applause for Michele Oberholtzer. Michele, get up here. She's with her two sisters tonight, standing in the back. Yes. It's time to show your sisters what you can do.
When you go through a hard time in your life, this magical thing happens to you where you just shut down, you go into shock. And it's beautiful because it means you don't have to deal with the emotional or the physical trauma of what you're going through. But the downside is that you don't actually process those feelings and you eventually have to deal with them. Last year I was finishing up the hardest year of my life. And it was very clear to me that I had had this shock thing happen to me where I was pretty messed up and I hadn't dealt with it all. So I figured I could either spend a bunch of money on therapy or do something awesome. And so I went backpacking by myself. And there was a bunch of goals for this. A lot of them were really squishy and sentimental. You know, I wanted to find myself and whatever. I wanted to spend time alone in nature. I wanted to get to know my home state of Michigan. I wanted to be a person who needed to use a compass and a sleeping mat and a poop shovel. And I wanted to go days on end without looking in a mirror or wearing makeup or shaving my legs. And I did that. It was wonderful. But not too far down on the list of things I really wanted for myself was to have an epic cry. I wanted to heal myself, and I had cried plenty of times in the past year, make no mistake. But I had this idea in my head that there was one cry out there that would utterly deplete this venom of sadness, and I would have no electrolytes, or I would be totally dehydrated, and after that everything would be fine. And I didn't know exactly what it would feel like, but I figured it was like an earthquake or love or an orgasm, like you know it when you feel it, right? So I was waiting for that. And there was one day on my hike, and I thought, oh my God, this is going to happen right now. Everything was the worst. I had no sleep the night before. There was rain. I kept getting lost. The trail was really grown over, and it was miserable. And I was walking through the rain, and this long grasses, they got kind of like Velcro sticky when they were wet, and they were gripping at my ankles, like they were intentionally, deliberately trying to keep me from going forward. And at one point, I tripped. And on my way down, I said, and I was waiting for the tears to come. I was so excited. And they didn't, you know. I lay there for a second feeling like an idiot. And what do? You know, you get up and you keep walking. But it was okay with me because I have this kind of sentimental side to me, and I thought, no, it's cool that it didn't happen yet. It's going to happen on the last day of the hike. That'll be super sentimental. It'll be a nice little bow on the climax of my adventure. It's totally going to happen the last night. So last night, I've hiked 6 weeks, 700 miles by myself. This is amazing. I'm almost done. And I am in Copper Harbor, which is at the end of the Keweenaw Peninsula in northern Michigan. And I went into town. I had a massive feast. I ate an ice cream sundae. And I was so full, but I deserved it, right? And I went to this bar where I was going to ask someone how I can get to the literal end of the road. It's pretty close. Copper Harbor is pretty close to the end, but it's not quite the end. And I knew that these guys would tell me. So I go to the bar. Of course, they're more than helpful. They help me out. They tell me where I need to go. And they buy me a beer, because I'm celebrating, right? I haven't had much beer because I've been in the woods alone, and my tolerance is nothing. So I proceed to get plastered on the free beers people are offering to me. I close down the bar at 1:30, and it's just me and my backpack thinking, shit, I still have to hike 9 miles tonight. So at this point, the road is paved, so I'm staring at the line. It's like a sobriety test. I'm like, just stay on the line, right? No, I'm weaving around the line like a slalom skier or something, like anywhere but straight. I probably walked 12 miles that night because I just couldn't walk straight. I fell over and over again. My knees are bleeding. Finally, 4:30 in the morning, I get to a place where I can't go any further. I'm probably there. And I laid out my tarp in my sleeping bag and crashed. And I woke up with a horrible headache. I could smell myself. And I opened my eyes, though, and it's the most beautiful sight. I'm at this place. It's like a cliff beach, and in all directions is water. Like the land just ends and gives way to water, 270 degrees around me. And I howled like a wolf, like, ow! because I might never be that alone in my life again. When else can you do that? And I took one last skinny dip and washed the grime and the dried blood off of me. And I kept waiting, okay, when's this moment going to happen? When am I going to realize the gravity of this moment? And I started walking away back into town thinking of how one day I'm going to take my children and my grandchildren to this place and tell them what I did here. And I'm waiting for the cry. And I realize, with horror, that I have left something behind. And I am a very conscientious hiker. I do not litter. I have left behind a crumple of toilet paper and my poop shovel on this sacred location. What do I do? I'm going to come back in 20 years with my descendants, but no, 20 minutes later, I'm back. I ran back to the beach. Hi again, grab my stuff, turn around. And it was just, it was the best lesson. I thought that I needed this huge sentimental recovery, sweepy, sad thing. And no, I learned I need to not take myself so seriously. Maybe there isn't a big cry out there, or maybe there is, but it's just not going to happen to me, because actually, as tough as my last year was, my life is not that bad.
Starting off strong tonight. That's Michele Oberholtzer, everybody.